All right, let's talk about part 4, putting numbers in order from least to greatest. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we want to make all of these numbers decimals. So to do that, I'm going to use the calculator, okay, and I'll use some scratch paper to help along the way. So first things first, to make a fraction a decimal, you are going to do alpha y equals. Then you can type your fraction in there, so 3/7. Use the right arrow to get out of that. Then if you hit math, go down to decimal, that will make that a decimal. Now you only need to go out 3 places. So this is 0.429 if I was to round it, 0.429, okay? And then we have negative 3.72, that's already a decimal. Then I'm gonna do negative 2/3. So negative 2/3, right arrow to get out, hit math, go down to decimal. That's negative 0.6 repeating. So negative 0.667. Then we have negative 2/11. So alpha y equals, get our fraction, negative 2/11, right arrow to get out. Math, go down to decimal. And that's negative 0.18 repeating. So negative 0.182. And then negative 1/4 is just negative 0.25. You should know what 1/4 is as a decimal. So now we're going to put them in order from least to greatest. So I see that the smallest here is going to be the most negative, the furthest away from 0. So the smallest here is negative 2/3. That's the furthest away from 0. So negative 2/3. Okay, that one is done. Now we want the next furthest negative. Well, the next furthest negative is 1/4. So negative 1/4. And then the closest to 0, oops, my apologies, it is not negative 1/4. We have that negative 3.72 there. So let's see if this works. We have negative 3.372, which would be next, 0.372, then negative 1/4. And finally, the last negative that we have is negative 2/11. Okay. And then when we're in positives, we want the closest to 0, so that would be 3/7. And finally, 0.5. That is in order now from least to greatest. You could use the number line if you like, but I was just trying to put them in order quicker. So now we have some mixed numbers. If I want to make a mixed number a decimal, you can do alpha y equals. If I go to the second option, it will let me type as a mixed number. So this is 2 and right arrow 9/11. Again, to get out of that, you just right arrow, hit math, go down to decimal, and now that's 2.818. So 2.818 is that 2 and 9/11. Then to make 4/5 a decimal, I'll do alpha y equals the first one, and we have 4/5, right arrow out, hit math, go to your second option of decimal, and that's 0.8. And the last one we need to make a decimal is negative 4 and 3/50. So alpha y equals, the second option is mixed numbers. So negative 4, right arrow to 3/50, right arrow out. Math, go down to the second choice for decimal, and that's negative 4.06. Okay, we want to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. So the smallest is the most negative. Well, the most negative is this negative 4.06. So we're going to start with negative 4 and 3/50. Okay. Then I have negative 3.1. I have no more negatives, so now I'm looking for the smallest number. I have 0.8 and 0.9. Well, 0.8 is smaller than 0.9, so that's 4/5. And then we have 0.9. And now I have 2.818 or 2.91. So 2.818 is smaller, 2 and 9/11, and then 2.91. And that is in order from least to greatest. And you will continue this the whole way down. So let's do the next one. We have negative 5 and 1/3 is what I need to change. So I'm going to do alpha y equals, second option for mixed numbers, negative 5, right arrow, 1/3. To get out of that, right arrow again, hit math, go to your second choice for decimal. That's negative 5.3 repeating. Okay, negative 2 and 3/6. Well, that's the same thing as 1/2, so that's negative 2.5. And then we know 1/4 is also 0.25, so that's negative 5.25. So in order for decreasing order, okay, that's greatest to least. So our largest number is going to be the one closest to 0 when we're talking about negatives. So negative 2.36 is closest to 0, so that's going to start us off. Then our next largest negative or closest to 0 is negative 2.5, followed by negative 3.5, negative 4.3, and then this will be closer to 0, negative 5 and 1/4, and then negative 5 and 1/3. Okay, that's in order from least to greatest. All right, we see here we have some of the same ones from above, so I'm just going to copy them down. We already did 3/7 is 0.49, 429, oops. Okay, negative 2/3 is negative 0.67. And then 4/5 we already found out is 0.8. So the only one I needed to change this time was negative 1/8. So alpha y equals, let me get out of that second mode. Alpha y equals the first option, and we have negative 1/8. Math, go to the second choice for decimal. Negative 0.125. Negative 0.125. And in increasing order, so that's least to greatest. So the furthest negative is the smallest. Okay, our furthest negative here is this negative 0.67. So that's negative 2/3. Then we have negative 0.372. Then we have our negative 1/8. Then we're into positives. So our smallest positive is this 0.05. Then our 4/5, and finally our 3/7. Okay. Our very last one, 7/8. I've shown you several times now how to put this in the calculator, so it should be pretty easy. Alpha y equals the first one, 7/8, right arrow over, math, second option for decimal, that's 0.875. 8/7, alpha y equals 1, 8/7, right arrow over, math, second option for decimal. This is 1.143. If I round up, 5/2, alpha y equals the first one, 5/2, math, second option for decimal. That's 2.5, and then 2/5 is 0.4. Okay, in decreasing order, so we want to go greatest to least if we're decreasing. Okay, well, decreasing, we want to see things with whole numbers. So I have 2.5, 1.78, and 1.43. 2.5 is the largest, so I'm going to start with 5/2. Then we have 1.78, and then we have our 8/7. And now we're under whole numbers, so the largest is 7/8, which is 8.75, followed by 2/5.